What's going on, guys? This is Real here again for the second part of the multiplayer platformer. In this video we're going to make two things basically. First of all, we're going to send the player the type of the server. The second thing is to spawn a player for the client. Alright, so let's start by making some constants here, and yeah, so let's make a survive mode for the server. So survive as 0, deathmatch 1, team deathmatch 2, and we may add the other modes, but for now let's just stick with it. And in the global int script, so just change global server type to any type you want here. Okay, and then we're going to create a group here for the client request, or client, I don't know, just call it client. So yep. And let's make another script here called send or get server type. Okay, and it's a request, so let's just go add request here. Okay, so first of all, we're going to type here, we need another constant actually, and let's call it server mode sm 0. Okay, so first of all, we're going to write some data here to in the buffer. Okay, so the buffer that we're going to select is the client's buffer, which is buffer basically. The base is buffer 6 start, so we're going to type from the very beginning of this of the buffer, and the alignment, or the offset I mean, is 0. Okay, so let's start by writing kind of like an ID here. Okay, and it's a buffer unsigned integer, 8-bit integer, and the value here is server mode. Okay, and then we're going to send this packet to the server. So network send packet using our socket, and let's send it this buffer. And to know the size of the buffer, you just need to type this function bufferTel, which basically returns the size of any buffer. Okay, so now let's go to our receive data script here, and let's add some key here. So the first of all is a command, or cmd. So this basically is going to see what does the player want. So as you see here, the first data that we're sending is kind of like an ID. So this time is server mode sm. So this very temporary variable will read the very first index of any buffer. Okay, so the buffer to read from is here, buffer that we're getting from this DS map, from this map, async load map. Okay, and the type is buffer u8, since we're sending an ID as buffer assigned 8-bit integer. Okay, so now if cmd equals server mode, that means a client wants to know the server mode. Okay, so what we're going to do here, the server will send to him another message to tell him what's the server mode. Okay, so let's make another group here called server, and let's make another script called send server mode. Okay, and we just name it here, send server mode, and here we're going to choose the socket that we're going to send to him. But first of all, it's actually, I usually prefer to use multiple buffers than one buffer and make it handle all data. But I'm going to make another buffer, and this time let's name it server buffer. Server buffer. I think buffer fixed will be fine, since we're not going to actually use a lot of data for this buffer. Okay, so let's open up this script again. Okay, and let's seek the buffer, just to make sure we're typing from the very first beginning. Okay, so this is server buffer, buffer 6 start as the base. The alignment is 0 as always. Okay, so buffers, I'm going to write here some data for this buffer. Okay, so the buffer is server buffer, as I told you. The type here is buffer u8. So the first key is going to be it's kind of like an ID. So we're going to send him the server mode. Okay, and let's duplicate this one more time, and here we're going to send him the real server mode. So global.server type. Okay, and then we're going to send the packet to the socket. So the socket that we're going to send him this data, so is argument 0 basically. So just change this later. So buffer ID is server buffer, and the size, as always, can be did using this function buffer tail. Okay, so let's get back to our receive data script here. And then, so we're saying here, if the client wants to get the server mode, then we're going to send him the server mode. So send server mode. Oh, what's that? Send server mode. Okay. So here we're going to choose the socket that we're going to send him the data. So it's basically socket, and that refers to the client that wants to get this data. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is making sure that once the client is created, then he's going to send a request for that. So let's call the script here get server mode request. Okay, and let's add another event for the client, which is a networking event, of course. Okay, and here we're going to get data from the server. Okay, so starting with the temporary variable, which is dsmap find value. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to get the ID of the socket that is sending us the messages. So if event ID equals socket, okay, that basically means if someone is sending data to our socket. All right. So then what we're going to do is get the buffer by getting from the map. Okay, so just change this to buffer. Okay, and then let's say the buffer ID. So this map find value. Oh wait, what I'm doing buffer read. Okay, buffer read to buffer u8. Okay, and then if the buffer ID equals server mode, that means the server that we the buffer that we got is the buffer that is telling us an information about the server mode. Okay, so that's why we have sent this first key here. So it's just like an ID, so the client will know how to deal with it. Okay, so if you remember, we have in the client a variable called server type, and then we're going to get to change this value depending on the server type. So we can do something like buffer read buffer that we got right now, and type is buffer u8. That's all we need to do. Okay, and okay, so just to make sure that everything is working fine, then okay, so I'm going to draw a text here just for testing. So draw GUI text. Let's say draw text 0 1 10 here, string server type. Okay, and so server type right here is team deathmatch, which is basically team deathmatch. It have value of 2. Okay, and remember that the server type for the client is 0. Okay, So if we saw, oh, what? Oh, let's do like this. So if we saw a different text from 0, that means that the server has sent us the server type correctly. Okay, so we're going to run the game here. Come on. Okay, so I'm pressing H. Yep, so as you can see here, now the first text here is saying 1, that basically this text, which is the DS list size. Okay, so can get rid of that. Okay, yes. And the second text here is actually the server mode. And if you go back to the client, you can see here that we're drawing the server type. Okay, and the server type is 0 when we start the game, but we are saying that the server type is going to change when the client connects to the server. Okay, so when the client connects to the server, basically not here. When the client connects to the server, he's going to send a request to get the current mode of the server. So the server will send him a message. So as you can see here with this script, we're sending the information that this buffer has to the client. Okay. So if you want to send certain information to, a client, that you're just going to find his own socket. Okay. Yeah. So when the client gets those informations, then we'll change the server type for this client. That's basically it. So the next thing we're going to do is send a request to spawn a player for the client. So we're going to create another script here, and let's call it spawn player request. Okay, spawn a player request. Okay, so it's yeah, first of all, we're going to do the same thing here. So you can go to this script, and let's copy everything here except for the comments up there. Okay. So we're going to change here the first ID to let me just insert another constant. Let's name it, I don't know, something like spawn player, spawned. Yeah, that should be fine as one. And make sure once you change the ID, make sure that it doesn't have the same value as the previous one. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, so this is spawn, so since it's a spawn request. Okay, now let's go back to the received data, and now we're going to check if cmd equals spawn. That means the player wants to spawn a player for him. So what we're going to do, remember that once the player connects to the server, then we are storing, we have a map that stores a map for the client, and each client is divided by a key, which is his own socket, and the value for this is none for now. So we're going to choose to use this value here to store the player for the client. So basically, let's go and make an object here called obj player or remote player. Let's call it just player for now. Let's choose a sprite for him. What is it? Player stance. Make sure it has a mask. Okay. And yeah. So first of all, let's make a temporary variable called player or PL equals instance create 0 0, or let me just random position here. Yeah, object player, and with this object we're going to have a bunch of data, so variables. So pl.id equals let me just think of that. We also need the tmid. What else? I think that's all for now. Yeah, that's all we need for now. And then we're going to add this map replace, I believe. Yep. So the map is client, the key is socket. Well, what was that? And the value here is the player. So we're going to replace, if you remember, the known thing right there. Where is it? Yeah. So basically, it doesn't have any value right now. Then we're going to replace it with an object when the player wants to spawn a player. Okay? I mean when the clients want to spawn a player. Okay, I think we got it. Whatever. So PLIT called socket. So let's have like the socket will be the, you know, wait. You know what? Yeah, so let's leave the socket ID as the player ID, and the team ID, first of all, let's say if global dot server server type, I guess, is equals team deathmatch. That means the team ID is very important in this case. Okay. So I think we need to, let's get back to this spawn player request, and let's add a team ID here. So let me just make things a little bit clear. Let's add two more constants here. Let's call the first one blue team ID, since we're going to have like the team deathmatch too. So and red team ID is 1. Okay. So where is it? Where's the? Yeah. So this one. Okay. So here we're going to send extra data, which is argument 0. Okay. So don't worry about that about now. So the team, if the global server type is team deathmatch, then we're going to see which team does the player wants to join. How to do that? We can always read it from the buffer that we get from the client. So buffer u8. That's all we need to do. Okay. Else, so if basically the server is not the team deathmatch, then the team ID won't be that important. So we're just going to be like the same thing as the ID here. So that's basically it. And yep. So yeah. So let's go back to the client right now. And just for basic testing, let's send the request when the player connects, when the client is created. So let me just think. It's a spawn player, I guess. Yes, spawn player request, and the team ID. Let's just set it as random team ID, or just to make it a little bit, awesome. We're going to choose one from those two variables, red team ID or blue team ID, just to be fair. Yeah. Alright, so now once the player connect, we should see an object created in the server. Okay, so come on, if we didn't make any error, okay, so I'm going to insert. Yep. So as you can see, you can see this nice man right there. Yeah. So once the client connect, then we're going to spawn a player for him, and that's because he wants to spawn a player. So what will happen if we didn't actually call this right here? Nothing will happen basically, because the server will not get any data, and he will not know that the client wants to spawn a player. And yeah, so I'm going to create server, and nothing happened, as you can see. So I really don't recommend you to spawn the player once the client connect to the server. That's not actually I don't know, I just find it, I don't know how to say it, but what I usually prefer to do is we're going to actually let the player to choose whether to play or just watch other players play. So in this case, we're not going to spawn the player for the clients once he joined. So let's get rid of that right for now. Or we can leave it and we'll remove it later. But here's one thing you need to know. Right now, if we're on two instances of the game, then the client cannot see his own player. You know, that's basically because this object is created in the instance of the game that is running the server. Okay, so let me just make things a little bit clear. I'm going to create an executable file. Okay, so just to show you what I mean. Okay, so let's save it. Yeah. Okay, come on. Alright. Where is it? Okay. Okay, so this is the server, so I'm pressing H. And as you can see here, we have a player. And I'm going to run another instance of the game, and then I'm pressing G here, and as you can see, this client cannot see his own player, and actually there is now two players right there because they're just in the same position, so you can't actually see them. But yeah, there is two objects right here. And as you can see, the client that is not running the server cannot see his own player. So in order to do that, we're going to, we're going to send data to the client to draw his own client and the other clients, of course. Well, since we have more time here, what I'm going to do is this. Remember, in this disconnect script, then I told you that we need to destroy the client's player once he disconnects from the game, right? So before deleting this this key from the map, we need to see if the player have, if the client have a player on the game. So var player, let's go to P, or is dsmap find value. Okay, so dsmap is the client. Okay, the key is the socket as always, and then we're going to see if p not equals -4. What does -4 mean? Basically, you see this variable here, no one, it actually returns -4, I believe. Where is it? Wait, I can't find it. Oh yeah, here is it. It doesn't tell you here. Okay, but I believe it's -4. Anyway, you can do something like no. And yeah, so if it's not empty, then let's see. If instance exists, if instance exists, p, which is player, then we're going to destroy it basically. So if p instance destroyed, that's pretty much it. Okay, and just to make things a little bit cool, when we spawn the player, where is it? Receive data. Oh my god, my sister is really annoying. So let me just okay. Oh, what's the problem? Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm going to run the server here, and the client from this. Okay, so this is the yes. I'm going to run the server here, pressing H. As you can see, we have a player. Once this client connect, then oh, where is his player? Don't tell me that it's in the same position as this one. Really? Interesting. You know what, just to make sure, let's do something like 100 times socket. So as the socket is an ID, then they should be in different positions. Okay. Okay, so this would be the client. Okay, so this is the server. Yep. So I think they was in the same position. So yeah, that's basically it. So as you can see here, we have two clients and two objects, two players. So when this client disconnect, then we're going to destroy his player. Let's see if that really happened. Yep. So as you can see, yeah. So basically, when a client disconnect, then this script will check if he have a player on the game. Okay. So if it does, then we're going to destroy it. Basically, that's all what this block of code does. Okay. So this was all for today, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, or yeah, so don't forget to do anything beautiful. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. See ya.